Okay, this is hopefully a short one because I don't even know if I should record it. Sometimes I think authors should just stay out of it. We're like biased, totally biased. How would we know what we wrote? Interestingly, a lot of people find the relationship between Peter and Sam difficult. They want more Sam and they want more romance and they want to feel Sam more. That's great. Everyone can read it. Please, I'm not upset by that. I love that. I love they want more of that. That's really sweet. But for me, I'm thinking if I was in a new relationship, and especially when I was younger, I don't know how much it changes, they would have been, especially, and they're new, they're the person I know the least. And it's so hard to see that person when you're overwhelmed with the emotions and the physical response you have to them. And that's the beginning of your relationship. And often all the emotional side will happen, but then the friendship comes later and the knowing of them comes later. And so while we know Jeb and we understand Jeb, and you feel that in the book, they're best friends and they've known each other for years, and Peter's had a long time to understand him, to love him in that way, in a way that she sees him, Whereas with Sam, it's so fast and it's intense. So it's sort of straight to the core of that romantic love and the crush that starts to develop. And by the end of the novel, spoiler alert, that's when it starts to develop, and a beginning of understanding. And stepping into that is part of the journey for Peter, is to allow that to happen, that you'll deal with it if it goes wrong, and that's just part of it. Wondering if other neurodivergent people feel that sometimes the person you're closest to is hardest to know at the beginning of a relationship because of all the other overwhelming things, unless you obviously were friends with them before. Probably a good idea. But when you're 16 and you're just a hormone bag, there's not enough time sometimes. It doesn't always go in this one order. Sometimes it's other stuff first. I don't know. Like I said, don't know if that's a neurodivergent thing, that I find it with just friends now. Even you meet someone new, it takes me a really long time to see them fully. And while I may have an amazing feeling of friendship with them, that doesn't mean I'll remember details about their life or understand why they do anything, or how they work, or be able to predict their behaviour. That takes a long time. I didn't want the book to be it's not just about Peter and Sam. I know it gets classified as romance sometimes, and that's cool because it is a bit, but I didn't feel like I was writing a romance. I was writing Peter's journey and Sam was there. And I really didn't want Sam to be the thing that made it or broke it. I didn't want Sam to be the one who saved Peter. I didn't want Peter to save herself only because of Sam. Because a lot of the time, if you do that and then that person leaves, you're back to square one. And that's a really dangerous idea, that, your happiness and your life relies on another human being, because, well, it's a bit fraught. So I was really conscious for that not to happen. I hope I achieved that, at least. The relationship with Peter and Jeb is possibly more foundational in the book because that's the family that she has. So I don't know how I feel about it all. I love that people have responded enough for me to think about it. The people's responses have made me think about that. And the other thing being that, again, not sure what I shouldn't respond to, because sometimes I think authors should stay out of it. We're biased, totally biased. How would we know what we wrote? The meaning is made in the reading, and whatever they read is what's there, kind of. Okay, so there are limits. What was that I wrote then? We don't always know, I think. Or you think you wrote something and it meant a certain thing, but what good is that? Really? There's no good in that at all. It's all about when the person reads it. It can sit on a shelf and it means that there's an object in the world. Great. But I never ever considered writing a sequel to Peter Liar. And while I have another manuscript set in the same world, it's not about It's not from Sam's perspective. It's not about Peter and Sam specifically. But some people have suggested some things, you know, about how their relationship develops. And I don't know, I'd have to think really hard about that one because you don't want to ruin what's there. It's kind of special, you know, held in ice now. So, but thanks everyone. Thanks for reading it and having an opinion. Can you imagine that? That's awesome. To read something and form an opinion means you've devoted emotional and mental energy towards this object in the world, and I'm honoured, and I really love that people took the time to do that. There you go, for whatever that means. Okay, bye.